leaders pay their final respects to one of Israel's founding fathers. In today's Music Maker segment, a South African diva makes a big splash in the world of opera. And we'll visit an unlikely place for the festivities of Rwanda Cultural Day. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Esther Githo-Ewart. This is Africa 54. Vincent Makori is off today. World leaders paid their final respects to former Israeli Prime Minister Shimon Peres Friday in Jerusalem. Among the political leaders and royalty attending the funeral were U.S. President Barack Obama, former U.S. President Bill Clinton, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, Britain's Prince Charles, and French President Francois Hollande. Here's more on the farewell of the Israeli statesman. Among other leaders, Obama was joined by Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. In attending the funeral, a senior Palestinian official said Abbas hopes to send a strong message to Israeli society that the Palestinians are for peace and appreciate the efforts of peaceful men like Shimon Peres. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was among a list of speakers. He took the opportunity to say goodbye to his close friend and mentor.
Shimon Yakiri.
You told me that one of the few times you shed a tear was when you got the bitter news on the death of my brother Yoni in Entebbe. You cried then, Shimon. I cry for you today. I loved you. We all loved you. Farewell, Shimon. Dear man, great leader. We will cherish you in the heart of the nation, and I allow myself to say in the hearts of all nations.
In his remarks, Obama spoke of Peres' constant quest for peace and justice.
The Knesset, heads of state and government, and guests from around the world, including President Abbas, whose presence here is a gesture and a reminder of the unfinished business of peace. To the people of Israel, I could not be more honored to be in Jerusalem to say farewell to my friend Shimon Peres, who showed us that justice and hope are at the heart of the Zionist idea. A free life in a homeland regained.
Obama led a delegation of 32 U.S. officials, including former President Bill Clinton, Secretary of State John Kerry, Democratic Senator Bob Casey, and Nancy Pelosi, the Democratic leader in the House of Representatives. Peres suffered a severe stroke 2 weeks ago and died Wednesday at the age of 93 in a hospital in Tel HaShomer. He held nearly every major Israeli political post during his long career, including Prime Minister twice, the presidency, Defense Minister, and Foreign Minister. He was the longest-serving member of parliament in Israeli history, holding a seat in the Knesset for 48 years. Sudan's Justice Minister Awad Hassan El-Nour is refuting claims made by displaced persons in the Jebel Mara area of Darfur that they suffered chemical exposure at the hands of the government of Sudan. Amnesty International reported Thursday that since January, people in Jebel Mara have reported blisters and rashes, eye problems, including total vision loss, diarrhea, and severe respiratory problems. Amnesty estimates that up to 250 people may have died as a result of the exposure to the chemical weapons agent, with the most recent attack occurring on September 9th. It says its investigation is based on satellite imagery, more than 200 interviews, and expert analysis of images showing injuries. El-Nour responded in a letter saying that government officials were very astonished to hear the allegations, which he says imply, quote, a heinous humanitarian crime. A U.S. State Department official says if the accusations are true, the Sudanese government has violated a major chemical weapons treaty.
We've just now received this report. We're obviously looking through it carefully, not been able to verify Amnesty's specific reporting at this time since we just got it. But the allegations of scorched earth tactics presented in the report, including the unlawful killing of civilians, the abduction and rape of women, the forced displacement, the looting, the use of chemical weapons, all of that are deeply concerning. And, of course, the images of the victims are horrifying. We unequivocally condemn the use of chemical weapons anytime, and such use against civilians in Sudan, if credible, would be reprehensible. Sudan is a state party to the Chemical Weapons Convention, and the use of chemicals as weapons by the government would violate its obligations under that convention.
Sudan joined the Chemical Weapons Convention in 1999, under which members agreed to never use toxic arms. New dates have been set for Somalia's postponed parliamentary and presidential elections. Voting for the 275-seat parliamentary elections will now be held on October 23rd, and the presidential vote has been rescheduled for November 30th, according to Omar Dage, the nation's Federal Election Committee chairman. The internationally backed process has been beset by problems. Dage detailed why the elections have been delayed again.
We have pushed back the start of the parliament elections because we're facing many obstacles. The problems that we're facing include that the traditional elders have not yet submitted the delegates who are supposed to elect the MPs. Another obstacle was that the traditional elders were still waiting for the federal and regional leaders to agree on the format of the upper house, because the upper house elections is supposed to be ahead of the lower house election. You might ask why the two elections are linked. The answer is that when one clan gets a member of parliament in the upper house, that affects its chance of getting another one in the lower house.
The U.S. ambassador to Somalia says he hopes the election can be free and fair and transparent.
And so it's our feeling that with the dispute resolution mechanism, people in the process who have a grievance or a complaint can go to what we hope is a competent and neutral board, make their complaint, and get a resolution in a way that is transparent, hopefully timely, and that participants and the public have at least some basis there to decide whether there seems to be some fairness in the process.
Somalia's presidential spokesman says the country has not had a direct election in 47 years. In the race for the White House, Virginia is one of a handful of so-called battleground states that could decide the November presidential election between Republican Donald Trump and Democrat Hillary Clinton. Those states are attracting a lot of attention from the candidates and political activists as Election Day draws near. VOA national correspondent Jim Malone reports.
Historic Leesburg, Virginia, where you can find echoes of the past around nearly every corner, even if some remain painful to this day. Leesburg has the look of old Virginia, a southern state that for decades voted Republican in presidential elections. But Virginia is changing, and nearby a dramatic transformation is underway that is also altering the state's political landscape, says Craig Green.
So all of this was just wide open farmland, and now it's as you can see, we've got this big retail residential thing going on. There's data centers all around us.
Green is a Democratic activist in Loudoun County, a part of northern Virginia that has been transformed by the growth of the high-tech industry and an influx of highly skilled workers from abroad. Green says the changing demographics are a boon for Democrats and make it challenging for Republican Donald Trump.
I went canvassing this weekend, and pretty much universally it was, oh, that Trump guy, there's no way I could vote for him.
Software engineer and Democrat Sri Amudhanar emigrated from India nearly 30 years ago. He says the county's rapidly growing immigrant population is having a huge political impact.
They take an oath of citizenship when they become Americans. And that's a very solemn process. It's a very moving process, and we have all gone through that. And that binds us to America very, very strongly into its values. And one of the values is that everybody is really equal.
Despite the demographic changes, Donald Trump is making a serious bid to win Virginia, and plenty of supporters turned out for a recent rally.
very importantly, it's one of the great movements of all time. We got to finish it off. We got to finish it off.
Trump's theme of making America great again has struck a chord with Leesburg businessman Brian Crosswhite.
He resonates because he's a straight talker. He speaks the truth whether you like it or not. He's going to tell you what he thinks.
More than 150 years ago, Virginia was the epicenter of the American Civil War. Today, it's a battleground of a different sort. Virginia is a state in transition, where the old blends with the new, and an increasingly diverse population is writing a new chapter in America's ever-changing story. Jim Malone, VOA News, Leesburg, Virginia.
In Friday's business report, U.S. stocks opened higher and institutional investment makes headlines in Africa. With more details on the markets, Africa 54 business correspondent Jill Malandrino reports from NASDAQ in New York City.
Good afternoon, I'm Jill Malandrino. Markets opened up sharply higher in the U.S. for the third trading day out of 4, where we're seeing trending action to the upside. Today's session will be important since it's the last trading day of the quarter. And this is what's known as window dressing, meaning funds buy the top performing equities and sell the worst performing in an effort to improve the appearance of the fund's performance. Looking ahead to next week, traders in the U.S. will have the key employment report on Friday in focus. Looking to what made news on the continent this week, economic growth in sub-Saharan Africa is likely to slip to 1.6% this year, its lowest level in 2 decades. This is due to the continuing woes of the largest economies in South Africa and Nigeria. This is according to the World Bank. That said, let's look at some news that will start to drive future growth. First, we go to Nigeria, where the areas of investment and economic diversification are the main themes. The African Development Bank is going to lend $4.1 billion to Nigeria in various areas over the next 2 years to develop the power and agricultural sectors in Nigeria, aiding a move away from the country's reliance on oil revenue. ADB's portfolio in Nigeria will eventually increase to a total of $10 billion by 2019. It was also reported that India, Nigeria's largest trading partner, will invest another $5 billion in the areas of health, education, agriculture, technology, and trade. Leaders from both countries met this week at the State House. Trade between Uganda and Kenya is projected to increase as the construction of a new and shorter route from Mbale to Lawaka border post in eastern Uganda kicks off. And finally, return to the automotive industry. This is interesting. We haven't spoken about the automotive industry that much. With little growth in mature markets like the U.S. and Europe, automakers are looking to tap into emerging African markets, and there's plenty of competition on the continent for where they might invest, like Kenya and Ethiopia. Of course, the overriding theme with institutional investment is infrastructure and power supply improvement, and the automotive industry will only add incentive to building that out. From the NASDAQ market site in New York, I'm Jill Malandrino for Africa 54.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, a South African singer Cinderella rise in the world of opera. Stay with us.
I wanted to present music and a side of American culture that is most important to me, that is a part of who I am. They're going to get some incredible performances. That's one of the things I love, bringing these artists in so you can get to see them do what they do. It's soul music, and that's what music is. It's that which comes from the soul.
And in today's Music Maker segment, we bring you the story of South Africa opera singer Pretty Yende. Pretty Yende's music career started at the early age of 16 to become an internationally known opera singer. She had the flower duet in a television commercial, and her love for opera bloomed.
When I heard the music, the beauty, and the joy that I felt in those 10 seconds. I knew I could do that because it's human. I felt it even without knowing that it is humanly possible. And so when I was told it was humanly possible, I said, well, teach me. I knew that if someone were to teach me, I would do it. But of course, I have to thank God for the talent, because the voice was there. And mostly to be an artist, you need that much of talent. And God gave me that much. But then I learned that that's not enough. It's such a big journey that filled of so many discoveries. And I've been so excited to just explore, one by one.
Born into a musical family in South Africa, Yende grew up singing gospel music in church. She released her debut CD, A Journey, this month after 7 years of performing live around the globe.
From a child who grew up in a small town to such a big world, I knew it was important for me to be well informed so that I can enjoy the journey as well. And so I'm glad I took the time, because one then realizes that being a recording artist and a live performing artist are two separate artists.
Her new album, A Journey, showcases the highlights of her young career.
We have had such a difficult time choosing those 7 tracks, because the journey has been filled with so many highlights, redefining moments that, shaped my career.
Yende admits most of the songs are technically demanding, but acknowledges that she has a special gift.
Well, most of them are all technically demanding, and I can be a perfectionist, but I've stopped being one, because one is only human, and this is just a gift. And to be part of such beauty and understanding the simplicity of life have helped me to not think that that area is much difficult than the next. Challenging I can accept, but difficult I cannot, because you cannot solve difficulty. But challenge makes you better.
She recently performed at the Metropolitan Opera House in New York, and although she has sung at some of the most prestigious opera houses in the world, she says the New York Opera House is her musical home and the best place to be.
The first time I opened my mouth and sang at the Met, it felt like the whole Metropolitan Opera House welcomes my voice. It was like it was saying, we love you. It felt so good and so easy, which is incredible, because it is one of the most biggest opera houses in the world.
This 31-year-old songbird hopes to make classical music more mainstream in her homeland of South Africa and around the world.
Trying as much as I can to go back home to each and every village, every corner, of South Africa, that, to educate and the awareness of classical music. Because if my dad did not buy that TV and we did not have that TV at home, I wouldn't be here with you today.
We leave you with the pretty voice of Pretty Yende. From music to culture, more than 2,000 of Rwandans and their friends recently gathered in an unlikely place to celebrate and promote Rwandan culture. VOA's Edward Rwema attended the festivities and has the details.
Rwandans often brag that their culture is one of the most unique of cultures, which is why they need to preserve it and promote it worldwide. It's in that spirit that hundreds of Rwandans gathered in San Francisco for the first ever Rwandan Culture Day, which served as an opportunity to celebrate Rwanda's unique culture and its role in transforming Rwanda. The dances included Inhore dance, with dancers holding the shield, an artistic demonstration of the skills required for protecting oneself from enemy arrows and spears. These dances formed part of the training and served to highlight the beauty of military valor. Organizers used a play by the National Ballet called Urukerereza to give an overview of the Rwandan family and its characteristics, provide insights into social cohesion among Rwandans, and to demonstrate the Inhore dance that portrays warriors in battlefield positions ready to defend their nation. Speaking at the event, President Paul Kagame hailed the Rwandan culture that has helped them never to be thrown off balance even after the tragedy of the 1994 genocide.
I think Rwandans make it easy because of this culture of being there for each other and the many things the panelists said of how I think we are ready to stand up to any of these challenges, as history has shown.
This celebration of culture brought together Rwandans from across the world and was meant to help them reconnect with their Rwandan culture while understanding how the core values of their society has helped shape their country of origin. Eddie Ruema, VOA News, Washington.
It's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, J.K. Rowling is bringing her world of wizardry back to the big screen, but without her best-known character. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Haydee Adams Fitzpatrick. You want to know what's trending? I'll help you out. J.K. Rowling's world of wizardry is coming back to the big screen, this time without Harry Potter. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them stars Oscar winner Eddie Redmayne. The film is inspired by the textbook of the same name. You'll remember that's the book which Harry and his friends study at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry in the Harry Potter novels and movies. Rowling says the film is neither a prequel nor a sequel to the Harry Potter series. It's merely an extension of the wizarding world. Fantastic Beasts hits screens in November. German car maker BMW is celebrating its 100th year at the Paris Motor Show with a focus on vehicles for the urban environment. The car maker's latest concept vehicle, the BMW X2, previews some of the new design elements that could be adopted in the upcoming SUVs and crossovers. Meanwhile, the carbon fiber gas-electric hybrid BMW i3 gets a more powerful battery to extend its electric range to 114 miles. When additional range is needed, a 650cc gas engine is available to generate electricity. I have no idea what that means. Halloween will soon be upon us here in the United States, and that means There'll be pumpkin in just about everything. McDonald's in Japan is offering French fries covered in, wait for it, pumpkin and chocolate sauce. The fast food chain came up with a Halloween choco potato to mark its 45th anniversary in Japan. Trick-or-treaters can enjoy pumpkin-spiced food and drinks to celebrate the October holiday. The new edition is a spin on the choco potato, which McDonald's introduced in January. Now, these fries, also only available in Japan, thank goodness, are covered in 2 types of chocolate sauces. That is what's trending. Back to you, Esther.
Thank you, Heidi. Space holders, mysteries and challenges that continue to intrigue scientists. The Mars 2020 project of NASA has enlisted scientists worldwide to work on developing a new generation of the Mars rover. VOA's Arman Tajimanyan has more on the program in this report.
It glows like the surface of the sun.
A diverse team of professionals at NASA is working to expand the horizons of human knowledge. Armen Turian, a mechanical engineer of Armenian descent from Los Angeles, is part of NASA's Mars 2020 program aimed at developing a new Mars rover capable of independent decision-making.
The mission is scheduled to be launched in 2020. There are more developed instruments compared to the previous one, and it reflects all our previous experience.
The Mars 2020 project, with an estimated cost of $1.5 billion, has enlisted scientists from around the world. Turian is a member of the team that tests every part of the future rover. There is still a lot of work, as the extra smart rover consists of thousands of parts.
There are few people who can say they worked on the development of a machine that will explore another world. So I am very proud that I and other Armenians are involved and can make a difference on this project that is significant for the entire world.
NASA plans to send the new Explorer to Mars in 2020. A descendant of the Curiosity rover, the new Mars rover will be equipped with more precise instruments to explore the planet more thoroughly.
We will only instruct it daily on when to start and when to end the work. These wheels and suspension were built to pass over large rocks and to maneuver in tight places. But the most important feature is that this is a real robotic system with an independent decision-making capability.
According to data collected from the NASA Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, some of the bodies of water on the planet were formed much later than initially thought, suggesting Mars may once have been able to sustain life. Turian believes the new rover will go a long way toward helping scientists solve the many mysteries of the Red Planet. For Armine Amirian, I am Arman Tarjimanyan, VOA News.
And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune into VOA Evening Radio Show Africa News Tonight. And that's it from us. Good night from Washington.
I'm Vincent Makori from Africa 54. This is VOA. Follow us on Africa 54. Go to facebook.com/VOA Africa 54.
The Voice of America today is a window in which we have to see delivering the messages for contacting the people wherever they are. And Albanian people, as people of a small country, need to have such and deserve to have such information from the United States and from all around the world. So it's a bridge. Voice of America, it's a bridge between entire world and Albanian citizens.